Today we're making sweet potato and beef stew with a little surprise. I'll show you that later. The first thing we need to do is prepare our sweet potatoes. So the skin of a sweet potato is edible, but for this dish, since we're going to be stewing it, the skin will come off during the cooking process. Now, when you're shopping for sweet potatoes, there are two things you want to look for. First, you want to make sure there isn't a lot of bruising or breakage on the flesh. But most importantly, you need to check to see if the flesh is firm. Normally, it will be softer towards the end of the root. That's how you know you have a fresh sweet potato. So for our stew, I want to cube these sweet potatoes. So we'll slice them lengthwise and then just cut them like that. And then we'll just cube them. Perfect size for our stew. Our sweet potatoes are done, and now it's time to prep the rest of our vegetables. I've got 1 red pepper, and for these, we don't want to cut them too small, just nice squares like that. So the next thing we're going to put in here is a carrot. Then, of course, an onion, garlic. I like a lot of garlic in my stews. Now the next main ingredient for our dish is our beef. After all, it's a sweet potato and beef stew. So here I have about 1.5 pounds of stew meat. So what I want to do here is to just trim off some of the fat, keep this healthy, and cut it into smaller pieces, just like that. All right, our beef is in nice bite-sized pieces. And the last thing we need to do to them is sprinkle them with a little flour. So not only will this help the browning process, but it'll also thicken up our stew. And then just give it a nice toss. Perfect. Our ingredients are ready, and now it's time to brown the beef and get our stew going. Now the first thing we need to do is brown our beef. It gives it a nice color and it locks in all of those yummy juices. So we'll add a little bit of olive oil to our pan and throw in our beef. We're just looking for a nice dark brown golden color. And when it reaches that point, that beef will just lift up off of the pan. All right, our beef looks ready. We don't have to worry about them being cooked all the way through now at this point. We just want to get a nice color on them. And these guys look good. Now in the same pan, without cleaning anything up, we'll add a little bit more olive oil and get our onions going. Now that our onions have softened, we'll add our carrots and the garlic. And now it's time to add our spices. So here I've got turmeric, cumin, paprika, a little bit of cayenne pepper for a kick, and a little bit of cinnamon. So sprinkle them right on top. Now I did say that this stew has a little surprise. We're adding beer. And the beer will help us deglaze the pan, but it'll also add a nice flavor. So here I've got a Belgian ale. I've got Stella Artois. It's not too strong. We're not making beer stew. We just wanted to add a nice little kick. Now back in goes our beef, juices and all. We don't want to miss out on any of that. Plus 4 cups of beef stock. Finally, of course, we've got our red bell peppers and the star, our sweet potato. Now a few more flavorings and we'll be ready to let this stew. I've got fresh thyme and 2 bay leaves. Now I'm putting them in whole, but we'll take them out before we serve this dish. And I almost forgot, Worcestershire sauce. This will add a nice amount of sweetness and tang. And season it with a little pepper. So we'll let this stew for about 45 minutes to an hour until that beef has softened, The color of the stew has deepened and the liquid has reduced. So I'm not going to put a lid on it. I want some of that liquid to come down. Our stew simmered for about an hour and that liquid reduced. The beef is soft and tender, and so are those sweet potatoes. So the way I'm serving it here is over a few spoonfuls of couscous. You can also use pasta or pearl couscous. Just soak up all that flavor, and to finish it off, some cilantro. How good does that look? And now, of course, there's only one thing left to do. Give it a try. That's amazing. You've got the sweetness of our star ingredient, the savory of the beef, and of course, all of those spices that we put in there in the very beginning. This is going to be a hit.